Welcome to Sotantra education. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the concept of generics. So, before moving into the details of generics, consider a story or consider a scenario. So, assume one student was making a lot of disturbance in a class. So, like you, so one student is there, and suppose one day he or she is making a lot of disturbance in the class. So, the class teacher told him that tomorrow, so come with your father, otherwise you will not be allowed to attend the class. So, the student replied that, sir, if my father will come to the school, then I will not come, or if I will come, then my father will not come. So, only like either I will come or my father will come. So, both we cannot come together. So, this makes the class teacher angry. So, he take the student to the headmaster, or nowadays principals are there in the school. So, the class teacher takes the student to the headmaster or to the principal of the school, and the principal asked the student that please explain why you cannot come with your father tomorrow. So, if some issues are there, you can come with your father day after tomorrow, or you can come in the next week. The student replies to the principal that, sir, on day after tomorrow also we cannot come, and on the next week also we cannot come together, because my father and me share one paint only. That means the student and the father has only one paint, and the student explains explain the headmaster or principal that as we have only one paint, in the daytime I come to school by wearing that paint, and my father goes to the field for work by wearing lungi or gamcha or anything you can consider. And after the school time, my father takes the paint from me and goes to the market, and I wear the lungi or gamcha at home. So, together we cannot come to the school because we have only one paint. So, that is why my father and me together cannot come to the school. So, if my father is going to come, then I will not come, and if I will come, my father will not come, because both share the same paint. So, motivating from this story, the Java people plan to introduce a concept. By using that concept, we can write a method or a class or an interface that can be used by multiple objects of different types. So, the main objective of generics is to write a method, a class or interface that can be used by multiple objects of different types, or we can say design a generalized class or a generalized method or a generalized interface that can be used by multiple objects of different types. So, that is the main objective of generics. So, and some features are there that must be satisfied, or generics satisfy that feature. So, we will discuss that later. So, now consider we want to print. So, consider this method void print arr int array arr for int element arr system.out.println element. So, this method is going to print the elements of an integer array, or the elements present in an integer array, and here this is the for each loop, or we can say enhanced for loop. So, using this loop we are just printing all the elements present in an integer array. So, here integer array ARR is the parameter, that means print ARR method receiving the array ARR and printing the elements that are present in the array ARR. So, it is a simple one. So, I hope all of you understand this method. So, nothing new, it is a small one. So, we have already discussed about the for each loop or enhanced for loop. Now, suppose we want to print an array that contains the double values, or we can say an array of doubles. So, this method is not going to work because here the parameter type is int array. So, we cannot print one array like this. Suppose the array name is AR, and if it contains, or you can write formally like this, double AR, and it is 1.5, 2.5 and 3.5. It contains, assume, 3 elements. Then if we want to print the elements present in this array AR, we cannot use this method, because this method can be used only to print the elements of an integer array. We cannot use this method to print the elements of a double array like this. Then what is the solution? For this we need to write another method, or we can redefine the print array method like this. So, here you can see this one. We have written the print array method to print the elements of an integer array, and here we have defined again this print array method to print the elements of an double array. So, both the methods are same, only here we are writing double array instead of int array. So, here we are writing int array, here we are writing double array, and the rest part is same. So, here you can observe this one, and the type of variable element is int in the top one, and the type of variable element is double in the bottom one. And this concept is called as method overloading, because here the name of the method is same, print ARR, but the parameter is different, or parameter list is different. That makes the signature different for these two methods. That's why the same method name and different parameter list, the concept is called as method overloading. We have already discussed this concept while we are discussing the methods. So, method overloading, that means same method name but different parameter list. So, here you can observe the method name is print ARR, here also print ARR, here parameter is integer array, here it is double array. That is why this concept is method overloading. So, we have already discussed. So, now we will see the implementation of the concepts that we have discussed and see whether that actually works or not. So, first write the class test, then the main method like this, public static void main, then we can write like string args, then we have one array, suppose int array name is AR1, and assume the elements are suppose 1, 2, 3, 5 like this. Okay, so now we write a method that is to print this elements and assume the name of the method is print ARR and we pass AR1. Okay, so now let us define the method. So we can write like this: public static void, then print, so it is small p, so small p error, then integer array as parameter, and like this we write here for, we can use enhanced for loop or simple for loop we can write. Okay, so let us write with enhanced for loop. So for int element and present in ARR, so just system dot out dot println element. So in this program we have simply written the main method, and in the main method we have defined one integer array and the name of the array is AR1 and it contains 4 elements. These are 1, 2, 3, 5, and here we are calling the print array method and passing the array AR1 to this print array method. So here you can see. Now we are defining the print array method or print ARR method. So this print ARR method has one integer array as a parameter and it simply prints the elements present in the array. So this program we have already discussed, that means this method we have discussed. Now we are writing a complete program using this method. Okay, let us see how this works. So java c test.java. So because here you can see the class name is test, the file name is test.java and the class name is test. Okay, so it is successfully compiled. Then java test, so it is printing 1, 2, 3, 5. So as expected it is giving the result. Now suppose we have another array, that array is of type double. So consider this one is double and here it is 1.4, suppose 2.4, 3.4 and assume it is also 5.4. Now we pass this AR2, so let it be AR2 the name. So we pass this AR2 to the method print ARR. So now let us check whether it is working or not. So again we compile, so it is showing error. Incompatible types double cannot be converted to int. Like we have discussed that this method is going to work only for arrays of integers or only for integer array, and this method is not going to work for double array. So for that we need to redefine this method, and we can use the concept of method overloading that we have already discussed. So here just write double and in place of int element just write here also double element. So now it is going to work. So let us check. Okay, successfully compiled. Then it is showing 1, 2, 3, 5, 1.4, 2.4, 3.4, 5.4. So you can see the result. Now suppose we want to print an array of characters. So we need to redefine this method, and we can write again like this, void print arr, and here we can write character array and assume the array name is arr, and here for double element, for character element arr, so we can write for character element arr, then system.out.println the element. So like this, here you can see we have written this thing. So here, using the concept of method overloading, we have not gained anything significant, because separate definitions we are writing for each type of parameters, or we are redefining the methods again and again. So it would be better write such a method just once and make it work for many different data types. So this is the main objective. That means write the method once like this. Suppose one single method, consider this one suppose. So one single method is going to print all the elements of integer array. That single method also print the elements of double array. That single method also able to print the elements of character array. That single method also able to print the elements of string array, like this. So here our objective is to create a generalized class or a generalized method or a generalized interface that can work for different data types. So we can achieve this, or we can create a generalized class, interface and method by operating through references of type object. So by operating through the references of type object, we can create a generalized class, method or interface, because we know that object is the superclass of all other classes. An object reference can refer to any type of object, because object is the superclass of all classes. A superclass reference can refer to the objects of its subclasses. So as object is the superclass of all the classes, then object reference can refer to any type of object. This concept we have already discussed while we are discussing inheritance. That means a superclass reference, I am writing this one, a superclass reference variable can refer to the objects of its subclasses, or to the objects of its subclass. So we have written this one, and we have discussed this concept while we are discussing inheritance. And because object is the superclass of all the classes, the object reference can refer to any type of object. So, let us consider a simple example on this. Suppose we have a class and the name of the class is animal. Suppose we have a class animal and assume the body of the class is like this, some instance variable, some methods are there. So, for simplicity we are not writing that. Now, we have one class dog, that is the subclass of the animal class. So, we can write like this: class dog extends animal, and here some instance methods and variables are there in the dog class. Similarly, we can write another class, suppose class cat, that is also a subclass of the animal class. So, we can write like this: class cat extends animal, and in the body some statements are there, and for simplicity we are not writing the body part. Now, here you can observe animal is the parent class and dog and cat are the child classes of the animal class, or we can say animal is the superclass and dog and cat are the subclasses of the animal class. Now, we can use a reference variable of animal to refer the objects of dog and cat. So, like this we can write animal obj, that means obj is a reference variable of type animal, and this obj can refer to the objects of dog. So, we can write like this. Similarly, we can also write like this: suppose animal obj1 equal to new cat. So, here animal is the superclass and this animal reference can be used to refer the subclasses of the animal. That means, this animal reference variable can be used to refer the objects of class dog, and here the animal reference variable obj1 can refer to the objects of class cat. So, using this object reference, now we are going to write a program that is going to print all type of arrays. So, here you can observe this one: print AR method we are writing public static void print AR, and it is taking one array of objects as parameter, and for int I equal to 0, I less than AR dot length system dot out dot println AR of I. So, here we are writing in this way: for I equal to 0, I less than AR dot length I plus plus, or you can use also here in the concept of for each loop or enhanced for loop. So, the work of both this type of loop, this type of for loop and enhanced for loop are same. So, you can use any of the loop. Now, here you can see we are creating one array that contains 1, 2, 3 and here of type object. Similarly, we are creating another array 1.6, 2.3, 4.6 and the name of the array is double AR that contains the double values, and that is also type object array. So, here this is object array, this is also object array, and here array name is int AR and here array name is double AR. Now, we are writing print AR int AR, that means we are calling print AR method and we are passing int AR. Similarly, in the next line we are calling print AR method and we are passing double AR. And if we execute this program, the output is like this: 1, 2, 3, then 1.6, 2.3 and 4.6. Because this print AR method, this method is going to work for these integer values and also for this double values. Now we will write another program, that is we want to find the sum of the elements of an array. So, here you can see the program. Okay, so here you can see this method find sum takes an array of objects and it computes the sum. So, initially we are taking double sum equal to 0, that means sum is a variable of type double and initially it contains 0, then for I equal to 0, I less than ar dot length I plus plus, sum equal to sum plus double dot value of ar of I dot toString. That means this statement, just remove this part, so sum is not there. So, this statement I am underlining this one. So, this part is converting the object to double. So, this part is converting the object type to double value. And this double value added to the sum and the sum is updated, and at the end it prints the value of sum, and this part is similar to the previous one. So, object int ar equal to 1 to 3, object double ar equal to 1.6, 2.3, 4.6 and find sum int ar, find sum double ar. So, we are calling the find sum method and we are passing int ar, and we are again calling the find sum method, we are passing double ar. That means, so using the concept of objects, we can write a single method that is going to work different types of data. So, here you can consider this contains only integers or this contains only doubles. Similarly, we can write another array that contains only strings. Then why we should go for the generics or any other thing? Why we will study a new chapter? We have already discussed about this concept of array earlier. Now, the limitation is like this. Suppose this int ar, in the int ar instead of this 1, 2, 3. So, if I write here like 1, 2, 3, then I am taking another one string Raju. So, this int ar contains 1, 2, 3 and Raju. So, here you can observe Raju is a string and these 1, 2, 3 are integers, and if I compile this program and the rest part is same, we are not updating the rest part. Now, if I compile this program with this updation only, that means just remove this one. So, with this updation only 1, 2, 3 Raju, only I am making int array, I am changing int ar and adding one string value. So, if I compile this program is going to compile successfully. So, it is successfully compiled, no error you are going to get, compiled successfully. Then during the execution it is going to throw a runtime exception, or it is going to throw an error, or better we can say it is exception, not error. So, during the execution it is going to throw an exception, and we know that the exceptions or the errors that occur during runtime is very dangerous or are very dangerous as compared to the compile time errors, because if errors or exception occurs at the execution, at the time of execution, then the program may terminate abnormally. So, that is not desired, and if we found some error during the compilation, we can change our program and act accordingly. We can update the program. So that means the insertion of one string in the array leads to exception. This leads to exception. So this is one disadvantage or limitation if we use array of objects, or if we use array references to create a generalized object. Now another limitation is we are adding this Raju, that means a string, in the array of integers. So basically here we want to store only integers, and by mistake if we add Raju, that is a string, then this program is also successfully compiled and it is not restricting us to do so. So we can term this one as it is not type safe, or we can say type safety is not achieved through this concept of object reference type. So here we are defining two methods to print two different data types. Now we have discussed about the objects, so let it be object, and here it is also array of objects. Okay, so now here it is also array of object, so here it is also, so elements are also type objects. Then we need to convert this one to the, okay, so first we can print this one, so no issues. So this one is object, this one is also object. Okay, so when we take the object, so we can use only one method. So only one method is sufficient, no need to consider two methods. So this single method print ARR is going to work for this array AR1 and for this array AR2 also. So let us check whether it works or not. Okay, successfully compiled, then execute. So it is showing 1, 2, 3, 5, 1.4, 2.4, 3.4, 5.4 like that. So we are getting the same output like the previous one. So you can see both the outputs are same. And previously we are using two methods. Now in this program we are using only one method. Then what is the limitation? Limitation we have discussed while computing the sum. So let us change the method name, and it was like find sum, and so we can use the simple for loop for simplicity. For int I equal to 0, I less than ARR dot length, or it was simply AR, you can consider AR dot length and I plus plus, then so we can write here sum equal to sum plus double dot value of AR of I to string, AR of I dot to string. Okay. Now
system.out.println sum we can write here. And another thing we need to take care, that is we have to define this sum. So we can write here double sum and initially its value is 0. So here we pass AR1 to the find sum method, and similarly we pass AR2 to the find sum method. Okay. So now let us check whether it is working or not. So semicolon expected. Okay, so there is a missing semicolon. Okay. So now let us check. Okay, successfully compiled. So it is showing the result 11.0 and 12.6. Now if I add one string value Raju here, like we have discussed. So only I am adding one string Raju here. Now let us check. So this is the very important concept. Like we have discussed, it is going to compile successfully. So let us compile this one. So you can see successfully compiled, no error. Now when we execute this one, it is going to throw an exception. So Java test, the command for execution. So here you can see the exception. That means using this object array we cannot achieve type safety. So to address these two limitations, we are going to introduce the concept of generics. And using the concept of generics, we can write a generalized method, and we can write a generalized class, and we can write a generalized interface. That interface, class, method is going to work for objects of any type and address these two limitations. That means if we use generics, then for such type of mistake, like if we add by mistake Raju or by mistake a string in array of integers, or if we explicitly add this one, by that means by knowingly or unknowingly, if we write or if we add a string to this array of integers, then it is going to throw a compilation error. That means we are going to, or we can convert the exception to compilation error. And if we use generics, we can achieve this one. So using generics, we are going to get, or we are going to achieve our goal, and also this generics takes care of these limitations. Then how we can write a generalized method using the concept of generics? So here we can see the method that is going to print the array of integers or array of doubles or array of any type, the print AR method. So here we are writing T. So T is called generic parameter. So here this one, that means T inside this angular bracket is called as, or is known as, generic parameter. So here T is the name of a type parameter, and we can say the name is used as a placeholder for the actual type that will be passed to this print AR method when the method is invoked. And we can write this T inside the method whenever there is a requirement. So, as here it is of generic parameter, inside angular bracket we are defining, and inside this method we are writing t, and this t represents, or we can say the t is the name of a type parameter. So, when in the method the type parameter is needed, we can write t. So, here you can observe where we are defining the generic parameter in a method, that means before the return type. So, here return type is void. So, before the return type we are just writing t inside angular bracket, and here only we are writing t, here only we are writing t. So, defining here and writing t inside the method whenever there is a requirement. So, in a method define this generic parameter before the return type. Okay. So, I hope this one is clear. So, we will implement this method and see the result how it works actually. And here you can observe the data type is represented by the name t. So, this t represents a data type. So, let me write here. So, this t represents a data type. So, there is nothing special about the name t. So, you can write any name, like you can write e in place of t, or you can write v in place of t, or you can write type, or you can write my type, anything you can write, but generally we write t, and t stands for type. So, instead of t you can write anything, u, v, e, anything you can write. So, by using the concept of generics, we can design a single method or class or interface that operates on data of many types, instead of creating a separate method or class or interface for each type. So, we can write a generalized class. So, now our objective is to how to write this method using the concept of generics. So, here we are writing using the concept of object reference. Now, using the concept of generics, how we can write this method, so that if we write 1 2 3 Raju, then the compiler is going to throw an error, compilation error. So, for this we can update this find sum method like this. So, here we can just write, so here after static you can write t. So, after static before void, in this place just write t, and here in place of this object write t, and there is no change here. So, here in place of object int array you can write here integer. Integer square bracket int array. So, here in place of object we can write double. Okay. And the rest part will be same. So, here you can observe now this find sum method is a generic method. So, this method is going to work for any data types, like if we pass integer it is going to compute the sum, if we pass double it is going to compute the sum, and if you pass string, so we cannot find the sum of strings, that is why it is going to throw an error. Okay. Now, if we add like Raju, that means if we update this one, So if in place of 1 2 3 we can add Raju here, then you are going to get a compilation error for this string, and here also semicolon. So you know that we need to add a semicolon after the array. Now another thing you can observe, here I am writing integer the wrapper class, double the wrapper class, not int, not double the primitive type. That means the generic methods or generic class or generic interface works only with reference type. So this generic concept works only with reference types, not with primitive values or primitive types. So for primitive types you cannot write the, or you cannot use the concept of generics. And in the previous class, while we were discussing the concept of wrapper class, we have discussed that the conversion of reference type to primitive types and primitive types to reference type is very easy, and due to the concept of auto unboxing and auto boxing, so the conversion of primitive types to reference types and the reverse is not a big deal. So please remember that this the concept of generics is going to work only with reference type, and it is not going to work with primitive types. That's why we are writing here integer and double, not int and double. So if you write int and double, then the compiler is going to throw an error. So if I write this as generic, so for that we need to write this one T, and here in place of object I simply write T, and rest are same. So here I need to write integer, like we have discussed, it is of wrapper class integer, and here it is double. So here you can see now whether it is working or not. Okay, successfully compiled, no error, and here you can see 11.0, 12.6, we are getting the same output, and here we are only using one method. Now let us check by adding Raju here. So here add Raju. Okay, so here you can observe after this curly braces the semicolon is there, but in this slide the semicolon was missing, so you need to give the semicolon. So it is a basic one, so every statement ends with semicolon in Java. Okay, now we have added Raju here in the integer array AR1. So now let us check. So it is showing in incompatible types, string cannot be converted to integer. So using this generic, we are transforming or we are converting the exception into compile time error. Now let us check if this is array of primitive type int, whether it is going to work or not. So let us check. So it is showing error. Required T, found int. So this generic is only for reference type, not for primitive types. Okay. So this concept of generic method can also be extended to class. So when we create a class with an instance variable to store an integer object, it can be used to store integer type data only. So let us consider here, we have written in the next slide. So here you can see. So class demo integer a, that means we can store an integer data in class demo. We cannot store a double data in class demo because here the type of a is integer, and if we want to store a double value in this class, then we need to redefine this class again, like this. Here you can see. So this one, this class demo double d is going to store a data of type double. We cannot store here integer data. And here this one, so here this class demo is going to store a data of type integer. We cannot store here double value because here the type of a is integer and here the type of d is double. So you cannot store integer here and you cannot store double here. Or let me write this one. So this one we can store only integer values. Only integer values we can store, and here we can store only double values. Now if we want to store, or we can say we cannot use these instance variables to store a string object or a string type object. We cannot use this instance variable integer a, double d. We cannot use this one to store string type object. So to store string type object, we need to redefine this class again. So to store different types of data in a class, we have to redefine the class. Now let us try to implement the demo class as a generic class so that we can store any type of data in class demo. Then how to make the demo class generic class? Like this, class demo, then we are defining the generic type here like t inside angular bracket. So here you can observe we are writing this t inside angular bracket, or we are defining the generic type after the class name, and for methods it is before the return type, and for class it is after the class name. So after the class name here demo. So after the class name we are defining the generic type here, you can observe. Then inside class, whenever there is a requirement, we can write simply t. The type of data, or we can say the data type, is specified by the programmer at the time of creating the objects to demo class. So the actual data type, like whether t is integer or t is double, so that is decided by the programmer at the time of creating the objects to demo class. So how to create the objects of this demo class? So like this you can see. So you can see here, this is class demo t obj, and here we are creating the objects of class demo. So we are writing demo integer obj, new demo integer. So here t is going to be replaced with integer. So here you can observe we are specifying integer data type after name of the class, that is demo. So, here you can observe after demo we are writing this integer. So, this means T assumes integer type and hence Java compiler creates the following class internally. So, the following class means like this, you can write class demo, then integer obj. So, the Java compiler is going to create such type of demo class. And how this actually created, so that part, the compilation part, we are not going to discuss. So, that is another concept. So, now we are not going to discuss that one, so we will discuss that later. So, this class demo becomes like this when we create one object of class demo. Or we can write this one, this statement we can rewrite like this. So, simply demo integer obj equal to new demo, just angular bracket. So, previously we are writing here also integer, now here in the right side you can just write angular bracket, then semicolon, then parenthesis, and here you can pass like values, you can write 5, you can write 25, like anything you can write. That means this integer is compulsory and this one you can write, if you want integer write like this, and if you want to skip you can skip. And like we have discussed, generic work with only reference types. So, when we declare an instance of generic type, the type argument passed to the type parameter must be a reference type. So, here integer is a reference type. So, if I write here int, that means if I write demo, then int obj equal to new demo, then the compiler is going to give left and right by throwing an error, because this int is not allowed, or we can say the primitive type is not allowed. You can write only reference types. That is why we are writing integer. So, such type of declaration is not allowed, or we can say is illegal. So, I hope up to this it is clear to everyone. So, now you can consider this program that explains the concept of a generic class. So, here we are taking one generic class box, and here the generic parameter is t, and we are writing t content, and the constructor is here. So, box t content, and this content equal to content, and we have one method that is get content, and the return type of get content is t, and this get content method has only one statement, that is return content, that means returns the value of content. So, content is defined here. So, here t stands for type. So, t content means the type of content is t. Okay. So, now come to this class test. So, in the class test we are writing the main method, and we are creating one object here to the class box. So, here you can see class box is a generic class, that is why we are writing box integer int box equal to new box 20. So, using the concept that just we have discussed. Similarly, we are creating another object to class box, and here the type is string. So, box string str box equal to new box and the name of the string is Sotantra here. Now we are writing int a equal to int box dot get content. That means int box here initializes 20 or initializes the object with 20, and here we are calling the get content method. So the get content method returns the value of content. So here we are initializing that one, the value of content as 20. So in this statement the value of a becomes 20. Now print ln a, so it is going to print 20 on the screen. Now the next line string s equal to str box dot get content. So the object str box is going to call the get content method, and in str box the instance value content or the value of the instance variable content is Sotantra, because we are passing Sotantra as an argument, or we are passing Sotantra to the constructor. So here the value of s will be Sotantra. So let us write here the value of s will be Sotantra, and when we print system.out.println s, or when we execute system.out.println s, so it is going to print the value of s. That means print the value Sotantra. So this is a simple program that explains the concept of generic class that we have just now discussed. So we will see the actual implementation of it and check how it works, whether it is actually displaying 20 and Sotantra on the screen or not. So now we will modify this program and write another class, that is another generic class like we have discussed, class, and it is box and t. So let us define this class. So we have t content, then box t content, so it is for the constructor. So this dot content equal to content. Now we will define another method, that is get content method.